Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a statement that has been circulating among observers of Iraq's financial system, particularly those who closely follow developments related to the Iraqi dinar and the country's broader economic reforms. The statement highlights several key elements that analysts believe form the foundation of Iraq's economic progress. These include the concept of the real effective exchange rate, the strength of Iraq's revenue streams, the growing adoption of electronic payment systems, and the implementation of the ASY customs platform. The message concludes with an observation that the foundation of Iraq's economy appears solid and that what some describe as an execution phase may now be underway. To properly understand what this means, it's important to unpack each of these components carefully and place them within the broader context of Iraq's ongoing economic modernization efforts. Let's begin with the concept of the real effective exchange rate, often abbreviated as REER. In simple terms, the real effective exchange rate measures the value of a country's currency relative to the currencies of its trading partners, while also adjusting for inflation differences. Economists often use this metric to evaluate whether a currency is overvalued or undervalued in relation to the underlying strength of the economy. For countries like Iraq that rely heavily on international trade, the real effective exchange rate is a particularly important indicator. It provides policymakers and financial institutions with insight into how competitive the country's exports are and how sustainable its currency policies may be over time. When analysts mention Iraq's real effective exchange rate, they are typically referring to efforts by financial authorities to ensure that the dinar reflects realistic economic conditions rather than artificial distortions. Over the past several years, Iraq's monetary authorities, including the central bank, have been working to stabilize the currency environment. Measures have been introduced to reduce volatility, improve transparency in foreign currency auctions, and strengthen compliance with international banking standards. These steps are designed to build confidence in Iraq's financial system, both domestically and internationally. Another point raised in the statement involves Iraq's revenue streams. This is a crucial topic because a country's currency stability is closely tied to its ability to generate consistent and reliable income. Iraq's primary source of government revenue has historically been oil exports. The country holds some of the largest proven oil reserves in the world, and energy sales remain the backbone of its national budget. However, in recent years, Iraqi policymakers have increasingly emphasized the need to diversify revenue sources beyond oil. Fluctuations in global energy prices can significantly impact government spending and economic stability. As a result, reforms have been introduced to strengthen non-oil revenue streams, including taxation improvements, customs modernization, and efforts to expand the private sector. When observers say that Iraq has the revenue streams, they are often pointing to the combination of strong oil exports and the gradual development of additional income channels. This diversification strategy is considered essential for long-term economic stability and for supporting a more resilient national currency. Another major development mentioned in the statement is the expansion of electronic payment systems. This is one of the most significant modernization efforts currently underway in Iraq's financial sector. Historically, Iraq has been a largely cash-based economy. Cash transactions dominated retail purchases, government payments, and business operations. While cash economies can function effectively, they also present challenges. They can limit transparency, reduce tax collection efficiency, and create vulnerabilities related to corruption or informal financial activity. For these reasons, many governments around the world have worked to expand digital payment infrastructure. In Iraq, the transition toward electronic payments has accelerated in recent years. Government institutions have begun implementing systems that allow salaries, pensions, and social benefits to be distributed through electronic cards and banking networks. Private banks and fintech companies are also expanding services that allow citizens to make purchases or transfer funds digitally. This shift is not just about convenience. Electronic payments improve financial transparency, strengthen oversight of transactions, and help integrate more citizens into the formal banking system. From a macroeconomic perspective, this type of financial modernization can support stronger monetary policy and improve overall economic governance. Another key element referenced in the statement is IRAQI. This is an internationally recognized customs management system developed under the auspices of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. The platform is used by many countries around the world to modernize customs operations and streamline the processing of imports and exports. IRAQI helps governments track goods crossing their borders, improve customs revenue collection, and reduce opportunities for smuggling or underreporting. By digitizing customs documentation and automating procedures, the system increases efficiency while also strengthening compliance with international trade standards. For Iraq, implementing systems like IRAQI represents an important step toward integrating more fully into the global trading system. Modern customs infrastructure makes it easier for businesses to import materials, export goods, and participate in regional supply chains. At the same time, it helps the government collect appropriate duties and taxes, which contributes to stronger fiscal stability. When observers connect these developments together, real effective exchange rate monitoring, reliable revenue streams, expanding electronic payments, and modern customs systems, they are essentially describing the structural pillars that support a modern economy. In many ways, these reforms represent the gradual institutional work that often takes place behind the scenes. They may not always receive widespread public attention, but they are essential for building long-term economic stability. The statement also suggests that the foundation for Iraq's economic progress has been solid for some time, but that policymakers needed to message things along. While that phrase is somewhat informal, it likely refers to the careful process of implementing reforms step by step. Economic transformation rarely happens overnight. Countries that are rebuilding financial institutions or modernizing government systems typically move through multiple stages. Early stages often involve establishing legal frameworks, strengthening regulatory oversight, and building technological infrastructure. Later stages focus more on operational execution. This includes rolling out systems nationwide, training personnel, ensuring compliance, and integrating different parts of the economy into a cohesive structure. When analysts say that the execution phase is underway, they are generally suggesting that many of the foundational reforms have already been designed and approved, and that authorities are now focused on implementing them at scale. For those who follow developments related to the Iraqi dinar, this perspective is important because it highlights the difference between speculation and structural economic progress. Currency stability and long-term value are typically the result of sustained policy efforts rather than sudden dramatic events. In the short term, the continued implementation of financial reforms in Iraq may contribute to greater stability within the country's banking system. Improvements in electronic payments and customs operations can increase efficiency, reduce leakage in government revenue, and enhance transparency across economic transactions. These changes can also strengthen Iraq's relationships with international financial institutions and trading partners. Global investors and multinational organizations often look for clear signs that countries are adopting modern financial practices and regulatory standards. Over the longer term, the success of these reforms could support broader economic diversification. As financial infrastructure improves, it becomes easier for entrepreneurs, manufacturers, and service providers to operate within the formal economy. This can stimulate job creation, encourage investment, and reduce reliance on oil revenues alone. For the Iraqi dinar specifically, the most important factor remains overall economic stability. A currency's value is influenced by a wide range of variables, including fiscal policy, trade balances, inflation levels, foreign investment, and political stability. Structural reforms like those mentioned in the statement can contribute positively to these underlying fundamentals. At the same time, it's important for observers to maintain realistic expectations. Economic reforms often take years to fully materialize in measurable outcomes. progress may come in incremental steps rather than dramatic shifts. What analysts typically look for are consistent signals that institutions are becoming stronger and that policies are moving in the direction of transparency, accountability, and integration with global financial systems. Iraq's efforts to modernize its financial infrastructure, strengthen revenue collection, and improve trade management suggest that policymakers are working toward these goals. The continued rollout of electronic payment systems, along with the implementation of digital customs platforms, represents tangible progress in that direction. For those following the Iraqi dinar, developments like these are worth paying attention to because they provide insight into the broader economic environment surrounding the currency. While they do not guarantee any specific outcomes, they help illustrate how Iraq's financial architecture is evolving over time. Ultimately, the long-term strength of any currency depends on the strength of the economy that supports it. Stable revenue streams, modern financial systems, effective trade management, and credible monetary policy all play critical roles in that equation. As Iraq continues to implement reforms and strengthen its institutions, analysts will be watching closely to see how these initiatives translate into measurable improvements in economic performance. For now, the key takeaway from this discussion is that much of the progress taking place in Iraq's financial system involves structural reforms designed to support transparency, efficiency, and long-term stability. These are the kinds of developments that economists often view as necessary building blocks for sustainable growth. If you found this analysis helpful and want to continue receiving responsible, fact-based updates about Iraq's economy and the Iraqi dinar, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, please remember that this content is provided for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial or investment advice.